Welcome everyone for coming back to the second session of Hack.Asia 2022. Thanks for waiting for a bit. We are now back with many great speakers from the Google Cloud team here today with us. So today, Google will share with us the different tools that you can leverage to build up your solution of helping us innovate a sustainable future. So regardless of whether you are working in a big companies or you are a startup student and innovator, we hope that this session will give you an overview on the different tools that you can leverage. So maybe quickly introduce the team here. We have Roy as well as William joining us today. We also have another two colleagues who will join us in the later session. So I know that I won't speak any further because I know that you guys have been waiting for this session for so long. I'll pass the stage to Roy to kickstart. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you. Hey, hello. Good evening. So sorry for keep you waiting, but I think it's a good time for you to digest a little bit from the fruitful presentation powered by Microsoft from the previous section. So I learned quite a lot from that section as well. So from this section, actually presenting as Google Cloud, we do have some more idea and some more tools can help you to start with your prototype with your hackathon event. So over here we have William with me.
Hey, how are you going?
Hey, it's good. Wow. So when we keep waiting, we did chat a lot for the event. But actually, I think it's good, especially for the topic itself. It's talking about sustainability, which is really a great topic among the whole world. No matter where you're from, which person, which race you are, sustainability is essential topic to all of us. So let's talk about today's agenda. Well, actually, we did prepare a lot of different topics. We're trying to pick up those related to you, most related to you, and most useful to you, and hopefully you really get back something after the whole section. So the high-level agenda for today, I'm going to introduce a little bit what was Google Cloud, and then we will have three more colleagues with me who are expertise in different areas. They're going to talk. Bring you through around some different topics like the data analytics, which will be William sitting next to me. He's going to talk to you soon for that, and also AI for AI ML topics, and also how can we have a quick app development with some of our ready-made tools for the app development topics. So let's get started for today's agenda. So first of all, let's talk about what's the Google Cloud. I think most of you should already know about the name of Google. We start our first vision in 1999. We launched our first ever product. Most of you already know it and using it daily. It's the Google search. You can get a result in few hundred milliseconds. There was a slang. People always said Google knows everything. They even have some T-shirt pinning this on there. This is not the actual one I'm going to show, but we are evolving. We do have a lot more to offer besides Google Search. Nowadays, many of them was popular and being used widely, like Google Maps, Gmail, YouTube. So, a couple of different products was being used by more than a billion users on a daily basis. So that's what Google's comes from. All right. So let's think about it. Google is starting in 1999. Back to the time, especially if you well known about technology, just think back to 1999. A lot of things was not well defined. Back to that year, you do have a search engine indexing and copying the entire internet in your DC. But what's the database you're going to use? What was the file system underneath file system? All of them was not being defined well back at the time. So Google needed to invent and build everything by our own. We do have that mission to continue to innovate in terms of the hardware and software era. So you might have a second thought. So what? I'm not Google. So what is it related to me? So as a developer. As a business user, you might likely will face the same problem as we did. So we do share the same goal. We need to be more data-driven instead of by gut feeling what's the best, what's the strategy, what's we going to do with our applications. We need to stay ahead from our competition. We need to be agile. We need to act fast. At the same time, we need to have a good control and good protection from the security threats. So we are sharing the same. Challenges among us. So from Google Cloud, actually we trying to help of our user out to gain the max benefit and run their application smoothly, leveraging the experience we already have. So just like we innovate a lot of different technology, and even we're trying to open source most of them to let you know and let you use it, to just share from our experience. So even on the Google Cloud, you can use the open source technology, the most familiar technology you already used it in a Google managed platform. So just trying to you can use it with without a lot of different headache, without learning new stuff, but in an easier way. At the same time, we did build a lot of different AI intelligence solutions to help you out for a simple API call, and then you can leverage it, and then use the machine learning models we already built in to make help you faster to get up speed to the market. Last but not at the same time, sustainability, as I mentioned, is something we did invest a lot. So on Google Cloud, we do have a lot of sustainable related solution or features. Or our team, we're going to introduce you further later. Especially security is an essential element in the Google Cloud. So all the solution you already use it on the Google Cloud, actually they already built in the security features, and then you can just start with it. We just take an extra step for you. Last but not least, collaboration. I think most of you, when you join the hackathon, instead of being an individual player as a wolf, at the same time, some of you may join as a team. So we do have some other tools to help you to collaborate with each other for to help you to increase your productivity among the whole team, especially in this tight timeline for a hackathon event. So let's rock the Hack Asia. So let me pause a little bit. When I talk about the Google Cloud a lot, what was it really related to you, especially for that hackathon event? For this Hack Asia, this year we are focusing on the sustainability. So if you did join yesterday's section, some of my colleagues talk about the Google journey for the sustainability. Actually, Google did spend a lot since 2007, try to make our data center to be from carbon neutral to carbon free by 2030. So long story short, as long as you're going to use Google Cloud, you already get the first step to be a sustainable solution. So of course, well, what I mean is, definitely that's something you wanted to include in your proposal for the sustainable design or prototype you're going to present for the hackathon. But obviously, as an innovator, you are not going to stop from there. So you might want to have more features came by Google and help you to more data-driven to tell about the story. How can you actually help the whole world in terms of the sustainability? So just like Google Cloud, actually we did release a lot of information about how our data center is leveraging the renewable green energy. So there was a YouTube video. There was a YouTube video can have a more visualized feeling about the whole journey of the Google data center, about the carbon-free journey. So while it was loading, I just going to give you some of the idea. I'm going to skip a little bit. So over here, you will find this kind of maps. So for each circle, actually we representing our data center in a 2-hour, 24-hour basis. And we'll talk about, and well, as soon as the color was getting more like the green scale, it's talking about the renewable energy we're using. So with this kind of study and statistic, actually it helped us as a Google to getting know better actually what's the data center renewable energy usage we have. At the same time, how's the difficulty in between different regions? Like we can find that some of them, you can see like this. Most of the renewable energy can only happen in the daytime. That means in the area, we are getting very good use for the solar energy, but we don't really have a solution for that night shift yet. And that's the area we're going to focus more, trying to make the whole data center in 24-hour basis is renewable. And that's why this will be one of the insights you might want to leverage from Google. How can we have a data-driven model to talk about how to measure, how to get more insights to enhance the sustainability for your whole solution, for your whole environment and application. All right, so with the Google Cloud, when you play around with it, and even you will find very tiny little things we did add in our program, in our platform to help you to leverage and getting easier to adopt the green power. Like for the data center you choose, actually we do have some indication which one is has the lowest CO2 emission rate. You can just pick from that. At the same time, we do have some pre-built carbon footprint and let you know what's your project, what's your product, what's the region you're going to use, was actually how's the green energy you are leveraging. So even we do have some analytic solution we have in some of our customer. We did open some of our data sets from the Google Earth Engine, if you did play around with it. We shared some of the images from the Google Earth Engine, and then you can have the imagery machine learning to analyze how's the different regions, how's the different pace on their agricultural production. So in this example, Unilever was using that to find out which region is lacking of the agricultural production and how can they focus more and getting more priority in that area. So I did talk about a lot of like ideation, but what's actually in terms of a product or technology Google is giving in terms of building your whole prototype and just making your idea to be a real product. Well, from the Google Cloud Platform, you can find that there's a lot of different offering and different of products. You might find that it was a little bit, wow, it's a little bit too much. As starting, I don't know how to get started. And that's why we do have 3 different colleagues came for today, and they did pick up some of the relatively easy use and easy to start products can help you to achieve your goal to build up your prototype in that limited time frame. So let's get started with data analytics. We do have William with me. He's just sitting next to me. So hi, William.
Hey.
So yep. What are you going to share today?
So I'm going to talk about some of the easy to use analytics solution that we have, starting with that data warehouse, but then also expanding beyond Google Cloud to some of the other platforms that we have, such as Google Maps, and give you some ideas around how to build a prototype, or even some ideas of what kind of prototype you want to build for your hackathon.
Well, yeah, sounds exciting. So how about just give you the stage and then you just walk through us with that?
Sure, thanks very much, Roy.
Yeah, thanks, William.
All right, thanks. So just a little bit about myself. My name is William. I am the head of data analytics here at Google Cloud. I've been here in Google Cloud Hong Kong for the last 2.5 years. And before that, I was also a cloud consultant in Australia with helping customers achieve digital transformation, and doing cloud migrations on all 3 of the big clouds, so AWS, Azure, and also my Google Cloud. Just want to share with you a funny story. So when during my application for this job here, my manager asked me, "Oh, so you've worked on all 3 clouds. So what makes Google Cloud unique?" And then I said to her at the time, I said, well, it must be data analytics. That must be the key because Google is a data-driven company. I hope that was the right answer because I'm sitting here today. So as I was saying before, I want to use this session to sort of share with you not just the technology, but also give you some ideas around how you want to get started or some ideas around what kind of things you want to achieve here. So just to start off with, in terms of Google Cloud's data analytics platform, everything revolves around this thing called BigQuery. And so what is BigQuery, you might ask? And the answer is BigQuery is Google Cloud Platform's enterprise data warehouse for analytics. You might think, well, every cloud has a data warehouse, or there might be data warehouses on premise, or what does this have anything to do with my hackathon, right? I think some of these points on this slide are quite important for you when you're considering what solution you want to use for your hackathon. I guess first of all is that BigQuery is very, very easy to use. And easy to use how? For the first part, you can use standard SQL to basically interact with your data in BigQuery. Secondly, BigQuery is fully managed and completely serverless. So what that means is you don't have to worry about server provisioning or hardware or specify the number of CPU cores that your data warehouse needs to run. All this is managed completely for you automatically. So you might think, oh, it's easy to use, but then it must not be very scalable, right? The answer is wrong. Because here at Google, we've been using BigQuery ourselves for the last 11 years. How do you actually index and store all of Google Maps and Google Search and all of these we call billion user products? Here at Google, we have 9 products that have more than 1 billion active users. If you ask any other company out there, whether they have this kind of scale, you'll be very hard to find a company that has this scale. So we handle petabyte scale extremely easily. And also, apart from scalability, Roy talked about the security of Google Cloud Platform as well. And so, Google, because, we have the 1 billion active users, we take security of user data very, very seriously. And so we pass that benefit on to you. And so what that means is data that is on BigQuery, that is on the cloud, is encrypted and is durable and is highly available. And so you don't have to worry about server uptime, you don't have to worry about platforms and stuff like that. All that is completely managed for you. Lastly, BigQuery is very, very good at handling real-time analytics. And so what that means is if you have data coming in that is live and real-time, such as from IoT devices, all this can come in petabyte scale and get analyzed in BigQuery very, very easily. Okay, so in terms of BigQuery, I just want to sort of give you a bit of an understanding of the semantics. When you go into the BigQuery itself, and Roy at the end of this presentation will talk about some of the resources that we have to help you. Once you're in there, I just want to sort of dispel some of the semantics. So in BigQuery, everything, or in GCP, in fact, everything is encapsulated in what's called a project. And so that is really a container for all the cloud resources for billing and security purposes. Within a project will be data sets. And so if you're coming from a traditional database or a data warehouse world, think of this as like database instances. And so, or schemas, I guess. And then within the data set, you'll have individual tables where you will have data sets or tables to manipulate. And so when you are interacting with tables or with data, you will issue what are called jobs. And so these could be query jobs where you want to query some data. You might be importing data into BigQuery or exporting data or copying data here and there. So the whole purpose of this slide is just so you can understand the language and the jargon a little bit so you don't get lost when you're actually playing around with it. And so I talked about loading data. And so for your hackathon, you really need an easy way for you to load data into a data store or a data warehouse. And you can see on this slide that we make things very, very simple in BigQuery. For all of you, you must be using Google Docs or Google Drive or Google Sheets in some sort. We support loading data from Google Drive and Google Sheets into BigQuery. We also support sort of cloud storage services, such as Google Cloud Storage, and we support a whole bunch of different file formats, CSV or JSON or Avro, some of the more advanced file types like Parquet as well, and we would definitely support those. So this gives you a very, very easy way for you to get a data set that you either have or you can download from the internet and ingest into BigQuery very, very easily. Thirdly, we also have what's called a data transfer service, which makes things very, very easy for you to ingest data from various SaaS applications as well, such as Salesforce and all these types of SaaS applications, so that if you are integrating with other SaaS platforms, you can get the data into BigQuery very, very easily as well. So I just want to give you a quick taste. So that was a very, very quick taste of BigQuery as a platform in general. I now want to spend the rest of my time to sort of give you a few ideas around what's surrounding BigQuery in Google Cloud's data platform ecosystem. This will give you ideas, as I mentioned, and hopefully it will serve you in terms of thinking around what you want to develop in this hackathon. So the first thing I want to share with you is something called BigQuery ML. And so what this is that it provides you with a very, very easy way to develop machine learning models within the BigQuery user interface. And so if you have data within BigQuery, it's very, very easy to train a model to make predictions, such as a buyer propensity a model, or a product recommendation model, or a regression model of the like. And so without this, typically a data scientist will need to go through and extract the data into a data lake, and then spin up some infrastructure, perhaps with some GPUs, to do model training. And then once they have the model, they have to put it here and there and make sure the model governance is done correctly. Thomas, my colleague, will actually come in after me to talk about some of this stuff. But then if you want to spin up a very, very quick prototype, sometimes you don't want to worry about all of that. And so BigQuery ML gives you a very, very easy way to try out a machine learning model just to see whether this machine learning model with the data you have actually works. And so I think this will get, for a hackathon, this is very, very useful for you, so that you can get quickly, very, very quickly. And so in terms of BigQuery ML, there are a whole bunch of different types of models that it supports. For those of you who are a bit more knowledgeable around machine learning, you can see each of the dot points that BigQuery supports. For those of you who are less inclined in machine learning, let me just give you a bit of a highlight. So you have classification models, which is basically trying to classify data in terms of different categories. So it could be yes, no, it could be buying or not buying, those type of models. You have regression models where you're trying to predict a number in a range. And so that could be a buyer propensity model where you're predicting the probability of something happening. And so you're guessing. So if you're guessing a probability, it'll be a number between 0 and 1, for example. And so you've got those type of models. And then on the right, you've got other types of models. So for example, like clustering models. If you have a list of customers and their buying behavior in BigQuery, you could run a k-means clustering model in order to come up with a number of customer segments for you to do further analysis on. We also support time series forecasting models. And this is very, very important, in the age of COVID, given that, things are so uncertain right now. We also have recommendation models, such as product recommendation, so that, if you want to drive customer experience use cases, this is also a very good way to go as well. So machine learning is, very, very important nowadays, and this gets you, BigQuery ML gets you there very, very quickly. The next 2 points I want to talk about is more around the user experience. It's all fine and good for you to build a prototype, but then what if nobody could access your data? That you also have to think about the user experience of your prototype, or even your final state application, right? And so what we have here in Google Cloud is you can see a partnership with Google Sheets, or what we call Google Workspace. And so this gives you the ability to query your data warehouse using a spreadsheet interface. And so here is a feature called Connected Sheets, where if you use Google Sheets, you can definitely query stuff that is already in your data warehouse without any issues at all. And so what that means for you is, remember, BigQuery deals with petabyte scale of data. It means you can access a petabyte of data through a spreadsheet interface. I remember back in my university days, trying to get to data using Microsoft Excel and watching my computer explode. That's definitely not a good experience for anybody. But with this interface, you now have the ability to churn data at an unlimited scale. And so this gives you very, very good way to democratize data and democratize insight for your users. If your users aren't particularly skillful in writing SQL queries, everyone knows how to use Excel. And so you could write an Excel function to get to your data and do analysis there as well. So talking about customer experience, apart from Google Sheets, I don't know if you thought about using chatbots. In the next section, there's also going to be a section on chatbots, and chatbots is something that Google is very, very famous on. But have you imagined a use case where you can actually expose data using a chatbot? And so you could do analysis and have your users interact with a chatbot, and this could be on Slack, it could be WhatsApp, it could be any other chat interface. And then using the chat interface, query the data at a petabyte scale. And so this, I hope this gives you another idea you can think about around after you're done with data analysis, how do you expose these insights to your users? And so data Q&A, again, is something very, very integral to the Google ecosystem. You can see it sort of marries up our data analytics portfolio with our chatbot and natural language portfolio together very, very nicely. Here's another sort of collaboration. Again, everybody knows Google Maps. So you can see that Google is also very, very pioneer in terms of geospatial analytics using maps. And so we have a feature here called BigQuery GeoViz. And so within BigQuery, you can write queries that are geospatial in nature. So for example, you want to make a join across two different data sets according to the distance. And so for example, query, find me the number of the closest bank branches in the nearest 2 kilometers from my place of residence, for example. You could actually write a query like this in BigQuery and then have the results show up and then visualized on a map, like what you see on the slide here. And so again, this gets you to a place of value very, very quickly in this using this interface. If you're thinking about any type of geospatial or location-based hackathon idea.
Hey, William, I just got a question. Talk about if we can leverage the Google Maps. Google Maps was quite popular right now.
Yeah.
So is that any way we can leverage the Maps data to the BigQuery, like the visualize we have right now on the screen?
Yeah, very much so. And that is when you press the next slide.
Oh.
The next slide talks exactly about that. So thank you for the question. So really, really awesome timing there, Roy. Thank you. And so to answer the question specifically, short answer is yes. And so with Google Maps, you can actually get another layer of insights. And we also have a thing called Google Earth Engine. And so Google Earth Engine previously was really for academia, where you could get a lot of geospatial insights and geospatial data. But now we've actually announced a release of this within Google Cloud. And so for an example like this on the slide, this is basically a visualization of New York City taxi trips over the course of a year. So you can imagine the sheer scale of data that is in this data set, right? And so what you can achieve here is you can have the data of the taxi trip, such as the from location, the to location, how long the trip took, what the price of the trip was, etc. And then you map this against the Google Maps API. And so then you can create these applications where you could, let's say on the slide on the right-hand side, you could draw a bounding box, and then that would zoom in, and then you could get insights on, for example, hotspots on where there are lots of taxi trips, for example. This is sort of a little bit of an example around urban planning or around traffic analysis. But you can imagine this use case being broadened out for other cases, such as analyzing environmental impact, analyzing CO2 emissions, etc. And I think this will tie in very, very nicely with the sustainability theme that you have here today. Yeah. So we talked about maps, we talked about AI. I want to close by also giving you a few ideas of something that would be very, very useful for your hackathon. Here in BigQuery, we actually have a number of open or public data sets that are available for you. And in the world of sustainability, and I talked about geospatial as well, here are some data sets I think that'll be very, very useful for you. So the first data set I want to introduce to you is COVID-19 open data. And so this is a data set of basically talking about by each geographical location, like country, county, state level, for example. It will give you data such as number of infections and also immunization statistics as well. And so you can access data within BigQuery, you can access this type of data within BigQuery very, very easily. Secondly is some weather data that comes from the GHCN in the US. I've personally used this set of data for some use cases, and it's very, very useful. And so this gets you weather information, I think for the previous at least 60, 70 years for every weather station in the world. And so you can get very, very granular data such as temperature, such as humidity, such as snowfall, etc., etc. And you can imagine a use case where you tie in this weather data into your own data in order to make machine learning predictions. And so this is very, very useful for those type of use cases. Thirdly is what we have, the Google Community Mobility Reports. So here at Google, you can see that with the ecosystem, there are many, many Android devices that we have out there. And so we have a lot of insights around how people are moving and whether they're moving about, or whether, for example, if a particular city is locked down because of COVID, the phones aren't going to move very far in a day. So we have those reports or that data at an aggregate level. Google, obviously, with very concerned with privacy, we make sure that the data is aggregated at a level where you cannot identify individuals. So we have these mobility reports, so you can do analysis based on different cities or different geographical areas, and depending on how mobile there are or how locked down the city is. And that's, again, pairing up with the COVID-19 data. That'll be very, very important, or could be very useful for you in your hackathon as well. Lastly, also want to share Google Trends. So Google, again, for those of you who don't know, Google Trends is a website where you can look at search trends. What searches are trending and what is being popular at a particular point in time for particular geographic locations. And so, for those cases where you want to look at product recommendations, that data set will be very, very useful for you as well, because you can see the voice on the street, like what people are searching for, what people are looking for. So I hope these things will help you with your data analytics use cases, if that's something that you're interested in. So that sort of wraps up my session. I want to...
Yeah, thanks, William. So, this is a very fruitful section. At the same time, I do think the last thing you just mentioned about the public data set is really helpful in terms of the Hack Asia. I think, as far as I know, you just highlight some of data set which was useful for the participants.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's still a lot more on the public data set warehouse, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like for example, there are a few other data sets I haven't mentioned, such as Bitcoin ledgers or Ethereum ledgers. If you're into fintech
yeah.
and crypto, right?
That's cool,
That's something
that's
that you
cool.
could get into for very easily as well.
Yeah, I do think it's really like insightful. So I think it's a good it's good starting if you don't really have a very consolidated. So I mean, I definitely know you do have an idea for your solution for your for your challenges yet, but at the same time. Just browse around this public data set. It might help you to bring up more insights. How can you footfall your enhance your idea for the solutions? Yep. Thanks, William. So when we talk about the big data, we just mentioned it's a data era. We just talk about we better to have a data driven solutions. Now we do have data, and then we should how should we use it besides analytic? Most of the time we talk about AI solution as well. So after the whole data sections, I think at the same time there's something you're more interested about. How should we use the data and enhance with some AI solution? So now, how about we just introduce one of another colleague? Let's introduce one of our another colleague who is Thomas and who's passionate about the AI solution, and that's why he's one of our AI specialists for Google. Welcome, Thomas. He's already sitting beside me.
Yes.
So
Hi, Roy. Hi, everyone.
welcome, and thanks for helping us in this event and teach us a bit more. How can we leverage the data we just mentioned to build more sophisticated AI solutions?
Okay. Thank you, Roy. And thanks, William. I'm Thomas again, and I'm the head of AI ML in the Google Cloud Hong Kong. And I'm happy to be here today to actually share the slide. Actually, we will go for the slide.
Yep.
PowerPoint. Yes, sorry. It's a different terminology.
So obviously you prepared some demo, but besides before that, I think you're gonna go through with us some of the idea first, right?
Yeah, I know you guys love code and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Yeah. So thanks for that. So now you see it. So actually, the things that in Google mindset, we actually took another approach. We're more thinking like how people actually can use it, and we actually kind of separate different user journey, right? So we have like a product manager, we have data analysts. So we understand like there's a whole room of like different people that will actually need AI for their job, right? And the things is that their need on the AI platform is actually different for different role, right? And also the complexity and the feature they require inside it is also different, right? So in that, right, then we actually help them to make a decision tree, right? Of course, AI, right? So we have to use decision tree as for start, right? So the decision tree is kind of simple in the very beginning, right? So the first question is just like, do you have your own data, right, to train your model, right? And usually, surprisingly, the answer is that usually you don't, right? So what happened? You just get stuck, right? The good thing with Google is that like we have a lot of data that like people share across on the Google website, search, etc. Right? And we actually use those data, public data, to actually do some pre-trained AI model. So pretty much like latest research kind of things that you find on the community that we actually will pre-package as API. And offer those model. And then we will talk about later like what those things that you can do to get started with your project, right? So usually what happens is that like you don't have your own data and then you use some pre-trained model from Google and get some sense of it. And once you actually got your data, then you will actually do something different, right? What you will be doing is that do you really like maybe hard code savvy kind of approach, right? And surprisingly, most of the time, people just like, I just want a quick result. I just want to like know what it feels like before I actually give to like data scientists to really like do some hardcore modeling stuff, right? So as such, we actually have like for low coding environment, we have like auto ML. So like they can just using the UI to easily click and drop to actually make the environment much easier. And then we also have like end-to-end AI tool that we actually can really build the sophisticated pipeline that with your idea and innovation. Then okay, so there's a free way to do so basically that's the free way that we can do machine learning. So it depends on the complexity of things and things etc. Yeah. Then yeah. So the AI building block is basically so here are all the AI building blocks that are available. So we have sites, we have language, we have conversation, we have structured data. So for sites, you have a vision and all the things, and language it really helps you to understand everything. And then you have a conversation, which you actually help you to understand.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. So
So it's,
there's a technical
keep going.
difficulty. But okay. Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, so well, back to the topic, right? So we have like language, so we have like different kind of language problem, and then we have conversation. So whatever kind of conversation problem that you can have, so idea is like chatbot. Then you have more structured data. So in that case, you have like auto ML table and recommendation AI and contact center AI, etc. And then yeah, for the next one.
Sorry.
Oops. Okay, let's fast forward. Okay, sites AI. So let's look at what the vision can see, what the computer actually can see, right? So next. Yeah. So here are actually kind of the use case that the vision AI can do. They can actually look at all the pre-trained content. So they kind of help you to understand like what are the things in the image. So imagine when you're using the Google image search, right? You just type some context stuff in there, and they will just get you the image that you were searching for. So these are the classify the content with some predefined label, so they kind of tell you what it is, where it is, etc. Right? And then we also have like object detection and tell you kind of where the things are, and of course like OCR to really understand what's the text inside it and things like that. So so in your hackathon case, you may be able to just upload an image and try to understand like what are the things inside the image and any hazard that you can use to detect and everything like that, right? And then let's have a look at the next one, the auto ML. So remember the things was that you have your own. If you don't have your own data in that situation, you use like Vision API. But you kind of get a sense what you want, and you kind of collecting more of data. Then you move to Auto ML Vision. Is that you want to do more granular things in there. And don't worry, if you came from like old time like me, like I am almost dinosaur, right, in the AI community. So in that case, right, you actually don't need to write all those code import transformation. You can just using our Auto ML Vision. They have like this kind of bounding box that help you to kind of really just doing UI to do that. So I remember the old days just writing code to do that is just horrible. Like trust me that you don't want to spend your time on that. Right. The good thing is that we kind of make it easy. So like we have the bounding box, so making everything easy. So basically, you can use that to really pre-train the label that you want, and then it helps you to understand like it helps you to build your own application. For example, say you can detect like where the cops or where the energy surge or the heat map, etc. Yeah. So and then we also have, apart from the vision, it's just like static image things, right? Of course, like with image, there's also video because that's how like things like, for example, like GIF actually happen. So they have a series of image and they combine into a video, right? So for video, we actually have more same thing with the Vision API, but we actually do more like we can also even transcribe the text in real time. And for the same thing with the Vision API, right? We also have like auto ML video. Yeah. So which you can see like can do like also video classification, recognition, and also object tracking. But I think most important like for some idea that you can have like is probably object tracking in your idea. So maybe like you can track the people traffic to really do some energy saving initiative, etc. Right.
Yep. Wow. Wow. That sounds excited. So when you just talk about the Vision AI solution, it did remind me some. Well, actually, it brainstormed me a lot of different ideas, and also it reminded me one of the use case I heard about. There was a restaurant group. They did have a discussion with us. How can we use this kind of technology to monitor if the customer left their table with a certain amount of food was wasted,
Okay.
and then they can just trying to resign what's their like the bin don size or the components should
Okay.
be. So yeah, it was exciting. So yeah, what's next?
Okay. Next, we will actually talk about like what language like how we like our conversation like how we understand each other, right? Yeah. And then basically the in the natural language domain, right? There's four things you can do. You can just classify content. You kind of understand. Again, it's similar to the vision or the video API. Is kind of you understand what are the things inside there with all the Google public data. And then you can also detect the sentiment from people, like if they are feeling being stressed or they're not happy with things, right? That right. And also like you can do entity extraction, and you can also do syntax analyze it, which is just help you to write like better article, kind of really just understand like what are the things that you're talking and really kind of like what are the key phases there. And then, so with like the natural language API which Google use from like the public data set, right? You can also train your own. You can do your own like entity extraction, sentiment analysis, etc. Right? And then we go to conversation, right? So speech to text. Well, I actually use speech to text build AI solution. So and it's actually quite interesting to do. So they can actually so they can actually identify in a single conversation up to 4 language, right? And they have like real time with streaming and short form and long term, and they have often also different kind of things that you can actually load the image and things like that. And they do also build in with a lot of like syntax and also the punctuation stuff and multiple speaker. And now you can see like we also have like 3 different model. Essentially, the interesting part is that like we have video, which is the data we have from the YouTube, and then we also have like Google Assistant, right? Hey Google. So okay, no phones ringing. So that's actually where the command that we use like for the Google Assistant. So you can use those things to actually build your own idea as well. And last but not least, of course, we have a phone conversation, right? So they can up to like even 4 speaker, like again, like 4 different kind of language. So you kind of understand like who is talking what, things, etc. And then we well from voice to text, and we of course have text to voice, right? So again, we do like different kind of language and pretty much everything. And then, but I think the most important thing is that we have a WaveNet. So it kind of like you can structure like human life conversation, right? So pretty much that you can try to fool people around like, oh, this is real human voice, or this is like artificial idol stuff. So they can do these kind of things for the better user experience. So again, we have like 21 type of language, and we have over 100 voice, and 57 of those were the WaveNet, and we keep increasing the number of WaveNet voice, so it makes chatbot less bot, but I mean we make machine more human-like, right? So people don't actually get too offensive with it. Yeah. Then dialogue flow, right? So you can pretty much use the similar technology like when we build the Hey Google things, right? To actually use in here, and you can use it for chatbot, you can use voice, you can text, right? And the good thing is that you actually can use it as a hook to actually do different kind of like API triggering, and they support like multi-language and things like that, etc. Yeah. So again, like this is a very simple architecture diagram that they can do from speech to text. So they actually can recognize like what you're saying. So they can even connect to the phone line. So so some few years in the future, right? You probably don't even couldn't tell like whether you the guy who actually answering to your phone is whether like a human or it's a droid, right? Yeah. So and then now we actually move to the fun part, right? Okay, how do we get started? Like, what if we now understand our problem? Now we have our own problem statement fully defined, and we collect some data. So what do we do with it, right? So again, like, do you want to do the hardcore way or you want to do it the easy way, right? Let's start with the easy way because I'm also the easy guy. I'm not that hardcore too, by the way. So yeah. So we brand our whole AI platform, so into a Vertex AI. So it basically just means that everything just mixed into one, right? And then you can just do everything there. So people just don't get confused. Is that like Vertex AI is not another ML framework? So for that, like we in Google, we still use TensorFlow for most of our work, right? So Vertex AI is just the platform that helps us to manage all that. So believe it or not, they were actually, I think they were using also some of the pipeline stuff to actually build stuff, innovation stuff like AlphaFold, right? Yeah. And then, so here for the Vertex AI, you can see like on the application side, they also have similar like the AutoML. We also mentioned like video, vision, conversation, language stuff, right? But underlying of it, we actually have a whole tons of things more, right? Why do we have that much stuff, right? Really actually goes to the notion that like there are more things that you have to do with AI, right? And then if we break down, right, you can see the layer is that on the top, right, that's actually the no code environment, right? But if you really like a hardcore approach, or you came from the old days like me, right, then you actually can do your own, you can pick and choose on different things, right? So you have like feature store, we actually talk about each of those components later. But as you can see, right, uh, it's not it's not that difficult compared to like 6 or 7 years ago when you're trying to do an AI solution, right? Nowadays, that like Google understand the things that we attribute for complexity one is very complex for most of the user. So that's why we kind of make it into a easier AutoML flow approach. Yeah. So basically in a nutshell that like if you want to use Google technology to train an AI, and if you're just like analyst, right? This is where I first started to actually doing data analytics. So you can just pretty much use a BigQuery ML, which I will just also show you in demo like how we can actually make that working very easily. Again, it's just one SQL statement away, right? Yeah, sorry. And then we also have like ML developer that you can use AutoML and do different things. And then if you were hardcore, more like me in the old days, then you have to write your own Vertex AI training pipeline, etc. So that's why we have 1, 2, and we pretty much cover all the needs that you need. And basically like so basically what AutoML work for is that they really just automate all those things that in there for you, so you don't have to worry about. So this slide is just here really to schedule like all the things you need to do if you really want to do it on your own, right? But trust me, it's only half of it. There's also another half of it on the government stuff governance stuff that will board you out, right? So yeah. So let's get some really visual stuff, right? So this is the AutoML Vertex AI panel, which I will actually demonstrate later. So pretty much like 90% of the AI problem you have, we're able to resolve by this four like category here. Right? And we actually will have more in the coming month that like will surprise you. But that's all I can say for now. So stay tuned. And then, like of course, like we have AI, Vertex AI prediction, so it help you to really like make prediction quick, and also like it can do in real time, it can do in batch, right? It's pretty much the same. But the funny thing we have is that we're also building with like explainable AI inside it. So basically, what it means that it's just trying to explain you what happened. So I will talk about it in the next couple of slides. And then we have like managed data pipeline here. Is that like if you came from the old days that you're using like Kubeflow, then you write your own Kubeflow pipeline, right? And you would just really kind of struggle like which your pipeline is doing and managing. Trust me, now that's a thing in the past, and you can just do it easily with like the Vertex AI. So they actually kind of like repackage the Kubeflow into the Vertex AI. So all the work you have been doing in the past, don't worry, you can just reuse it and manage it easily. Again, if you use AutoML, you don't have to worry about that. So this stuff I'm talking, just trying to scare you that like, yeah, if you want to go real hardcore mode, because I've been to that path, right? Yeah. So this is also where the explainable. So why I still want to talk about it if it's boring, right? It's just that somehow when you use AI, it helps you to really be responsible, meaning that like you understand what it is doing, right? So you need to understand like, okay, are they being biased? Are they actually being fair to people? Or are they actually doing something like the dog versus muffin kind of misclassification stuff? So you can just using that to really help you to debug your model. So you can just imagine if you're a programmer, it's more like a debugger, but it's more in a visual way. Yeah. Then of course we have like image, we have tabular, and we have text. So it really helps you to understand like what your model is saying. And then feature store. So you may not actually use it in the hackathon, but it also help you kind of in a way that to manage your data running in production. Because I don't know if you guys actually know that like a lot of people talk about building AI model, but in the world, that not many people actually talking about how to actually move the AI model into the production. Trust me, it's really, really painful job, right? And the feature store really trying to optimize that. And then you go to the monitoring. So the one reason why you need to actually use the feature store is that they build in with model monitoring. And what happened with the model monitoring is that if you build something, you're trying to save the world, and you don't want it to go wrong without telling you, right? So in here, we actually understand that because we actually build some very mission critical AI application, and we want to make sure that when people use it, they actually being responsible, and also the AI, if it goes wrong, we were the first one to notice. Right? So here we actually building all the model dashboard, so you can see it easily manage it in the whole Vertex AI environment.
Hey, thanks, Thomas. Can I have a pause here?
Sure.
So, because you did introduce a lot of different topics, and then, well, it's a little bit like an info overwhelm for me.
Yeah.
So, besides those ideas, can we have something more like an interactive demonstration? At least it will help us easier to knowing what's actually working underneath instead of the idea telling here.
Yeah, sure. So I guess actually that's our demo time, right?
Yeah,
so
demo time.
Let's
Sounds great.
look at my screensaver. Hold on, just let me log in.
Okay.
Okay, so can you? Okay, so actually this is. Oh, let me actually zoom in quicker. Yeah, so this is actually. So I just talk about a lot of things to scare you guys, right? Actually, it's very rather relatively easy. So this is actually the dashboard of the Vertex AI. So this is the landing page of Vertex AI. This is how you get started. So all you have to do for the first is just really to create a data set. And then I can show you. I actually create some demos. So so you can just choose your problem statement. Like for that particular data, what are the problems that you're trying to solve? And then you have like image that you can just detect and do like segmentation or analysis. So pretty much if you're using like wildfire or some of like wild animal detection, that you can use those one to actually train it. And then when we go to the tabular data, we have like regression, classification, which pretty much standard, but we also have like the forecasting, right? So today's in this demo, we will actually tell you like how do you actually build a forecasting model for energy consumption, right? So you can actually, again, in the example I mentioned yesterday, that you can actually switch between the fossil and the solar energy easily with that. So it's really helping you for the decision making. And then we have like all the NLP stuff that you have, and then we have video. So let's start with the forecast one. and then we just create it. Yeah. Okay, it's created. So in here, you can actually see that you can just upload your data. You can upload your CSV there. You can also upload the CSV from your bucket if your size of the file is really large. And then you can also well, of course, in Google, again, like everything we do is inside the BigQuery. So you can just select the table from the BigQuery and just have it, right? And then you select it, and then I think it's ESG public data. Oops, not this one, the AEP hourly. Yeah, so this is the AEP data set I have created. So this is actually the consumption for the AEP. And then if we select, okay, continue. And then, so this is basically, so they will analyze it for you. And for the next step, you really want to do is just like for the time series stem, what are the stem you want to have? So you can have like daytime, of course, like your prediction, the daytime, so you want to use that one. And then for the series identifier, so this is probably something daunting when you first get started. So what it really means is that if you have a whole bunch time series data and into like one data set, and how do we identify which is which associated with the timeline? But in this case, we only have one, so I just create one column ID called 0, and just select that one, and then you train the model, right? And then you select AutoML, and your target column is actually the energy consumption, so it's this column. And then the granularity actually is hourly data, so you can just do hourly. And then the forecasting horizon is just like how long you want to look into the future based on all the consumption things that you're having right now. So in our case, we want to predict just the next day energy consumption, or even 12 hour, we can do that. So we can just put like 24 here. And then for the context window, for the start, you can just do it the same, so 24. And then you can just like continue. And they already tag the data for you. So the next thing you want to do is just like whether you want to do a weight column, and then what kind of the optimized objective you have. And then you can just choose the one that will fit one for your application. And I'll just use the default one. And this is where the interesting part, right? The model training is kind of like unknown territory. Like I don't know how long my model will train. So probably the first thing you want to see is that how many budget that you have, right? So if, for example, say you have a budget for 100 hour, right? You can just put 100 in there. So let me put 100. Yeah, oops. Oh, sorry, 72. Yeah. So what happened that is that once you put 72, that will be the maximum they will use, right? So meaning that if they actually train the model, which including a whole series of those pipelines that we just show you, right? If they think like if training it any longer is not making any improvement, they will stop immediately, help you to save money, right? And then you can just say like, okay, start training. And then, well, of course, it takes hours, so we are not going to wait for 72 hours. So let's fast forward to the future. So now it's 72 hours later. So we have our model. So we go to our model. So this is the consumption one. And then if we click on it, you will see like, oops, just, yeah, okay. So they will show you like all those model evaluation matrix, and then you can even run your batch prediction, which we'll do later. And then we also have like all the model properties. So this model property is where all the like governance stuff that I'm talking about, which they all build it automatically. Because believe it or not, like Google is kind of a metadata freak. They kind of like tag pretty much everything for it, right? So this is how we also build our product here. So make sure like everything you do is like you can traceable, so it helps you really to debug it. And then we will do next is to do a prediction, right? So I have a server prediction running, and then I can just train day, tone, hourly, 4, right? And then again, like everything in BQ, so we can just do in BQ. So sorry, V3A, V2, and then the ESG data, and then my project name. I like Marvel, so I have using their name. Yeah. So here now asks you to actually save the table, and then I just copy copy and paste is just amazing. Yeah. So I like that. And then that's all you need to do. You just fill in the information. It's just like a form, and then you create a table. Oops. What was that? Oops. Probably just hand. But once you create a table, they will have a training job here for you. And then if you click on that, they will train, and then you can actually look at the result, visualize it. And then it will come to our next part of the demo is actually just assuming that if you're doing the trying to improve the transport sector, right? What you want to do is that you want to actually see like for say like those bike sharing program, how you really allocate the bike to different kind of area. How do you optimize that, right? And then easily we want to show you like if you're not very hardcore, you don't even know like what those like evaluation everything means, right? You only know SQL, and that's all you need to know, right? So this is actually from a tutorial. I can share the link after the talk. So basically, it's a public data set from Google, just like London bicycle data. And with this data, so this is actually the a given data model we just use. So pretty much it's a SQL, and what we really do is just trying to transform some feature engineering. So meaning that like because machine doesn't understand text, like what it means, like what we're talking to Roy, etc. They only understand numbers. So basically what this is doing is just really converting all the things into a number. So machine just can do with number, right? Machine is good at number. So this is a very complicated data model. And if you know SQL, you probably already know that. And okay, so if I now want to do like machine learning, like I want to do unsupervised learning, so basically meaning I want to do clustering or segmentation, right? So what do? All you need to do is just add 2 lines of code. So it's free, but it's actually 2 statements. That's all you need to do, right? And the interesting thing is that the whole 1.2 gigabyte model with the data, it only took me like 41.1 second in BigQuery. It's just fast, right? It's just a blink of eye. Usually when the old days, when I being a data scientist, I go get a coffee, so we usually get a lot of coffee break. But kind of in Google that like they don't allow you to go coffee break anymore. So yeah, that's the post life after Google, yeah. So once you've done that, and then once you've done that, you actually can go to see the model. So this is the model. So this is the model after 41 seconds, and then they give you all the detail, and then it tells you like how many things that they will actually try. So you actually can twist around those parameter to just play around for fun. And then if you want to really a deep dive, saying like how many iteration they change and things like that, they're also building the visualization, which is pretty easy to understand, and then you can evaluate it. So basically, this is just trying to tell you like with all the segment that they found from a machine perspective, right? How those segment the attribute are different from each other, right? And then and if you want to use this model with your new data coming up, right? All you need to do is just like /* standard SQL, right? From the model that you're using and the new data that you need. That's it. That's how you do clustering on BQ. So it's very relatively straightforward. Yeah. So just one last thing, right? I understand like usually kind of understand data is very daunting, right? So in Google here, we actually help you to really explore the data. So you can click here, it will help you to the Data Studio, which is a free BI tool from Google. And while it's loading, I can show you some example that I have done in the past that like, okay, this is a real-time streaming data, so you can do batch real-time and even API, whatever, they can do in just one place. And yeah, I think it's finished loading. So basically, this is what it looks like. It's nothing fancy. It's just same as the one that you see, even worse, right? So how do we make it even more interactive, right? So we move the count, we add in the duration, number, and the distance, yes. And then say like, oh, sum doesn't really make sense because we're just trying to aggregate everything, right? So then we should do average. We have a whole bunch of things here. And then average and average. No, yeah. So just like that. So it gives you a bit table, but it's not sexy, right? Because to management to manager is just too much number. So what we can do is that we can actually use like the bar chart inside the table. Or now it's more sexy that you can actually see like, oh, there's some behavior trail from different by station, etc. And then you can even switch easily to different kind of visualization. So on the top here, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff, and then you can even integrate with Google Map and stuff that you can do, right? So that's it for me.
Yeah. So thanks, Thomas. So yeah, it's so fruitful. At the same time, it's visualize the whole idea we already mentioned. Well, at the same time, actually, there was some questions was voting in the live chat.
Okay.
And also fans, William already helped answer some of them. So just want to quickly recap one of audience asking about the auto ML if it can be used for production.
Yeah.
So short answer is yes. Thanks for William. He already mentioned.
Yeah.
So auto ML literally just automate your ML flow.
Yeah.
So you have two choices. Thomas already mentioned. Either you're a hard code guy, you're gonna to do all those training by yourself. At the same time, some of the tedious work you would like to have the machine automated it for you. That's what AutoML was been there. But at the same time, as long as it trained all the models, you can use it directly, no matter it's in your development or production environment. So as long as you got a good model, they've got good insights for you. Here you go. That you can just use it wherever you like.
Yeah,
Right?
and I actually can just show you one thing here, just easy, is that because the CI/CD concept in Google is kind of really the hardcore of the SRE, which is more engineering term, but just in that is that we really take serious about like CI/CD moving into production. So what we actually can do is that we can actually export the model and then we can import in another project. So you can just easily export and import into your production environment when you finish your model training, even support with AutoML and even BQML. So yeah.
So thanks for that. So just trying to leverage AutoML, it will help you quicker to finish up your prototype with minimal workloads, but a sophisticated ML result.
Yes.
So another question I just wanted to quickly wrap over there. Talk about if we can use the Google Assist with Google Cloud technology.
Yes.
Well, I think it's a tricky question. So Google Assist is more like, if you talk about the Google Assist in your phone, it's more like something like a PPO service. It's already from Google. But if you talk about the Google Assist functionalities, you might want to build your own chatbot. Actually, there's already some features Thomas already covered. It was already on the Google Cloud. You can use it easily, like speech to text, text speech, dialogue flow.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, you can just Google something called AIY, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
AIY.
that was a project was from Google. Actually, is just simply some Raspberry Pi, some chipboard. At the same time, it comes with a cardboard case.
Yeah.
So
It's not fancy looking.
but you can have a very affordable and
Yeah.
easily AI toy, and you can just play around with it. So you can, well, compared to Google Assist, the main differences is like you can create your own intent. You can have your own like dialogue flow, your topics, and you can build around with it. I heard of some of one of our colleagues, they even trying to make one to make a chatbot to their kid as a Christmas gift. So just like dad was talking to them, but actually is a AI bot.
I think they were happier if they received Switch PS5.
Well, but it's more
Depends.
expensive.
It really depends. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
all right,
right?
it depends.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, thanks, Thomas.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Rob.
hopefully you've got a very fruitful section for the AI machine learning section. At the same time, you're getting more like live experience with a demo and getting know more like how can we actually work with it. So can I get back the juice?
Oh, yeah,
I was
sure.
a little bit.
Okay.
So how about at this time, how about we introduce one of our next guests, is one of our colleague who is Tommy, who is more focusing on the app development and the modern application modernization era. So in the coming section, he's going to share a little bit more for the Firebase or Firestore. I'm not so sure if you're familiar with that, but besides the machine learning, besides the data analytic world, I think some of you, if you're going to make a prototype in that short time frame, app development is something necessary for you. And if there was a tools can help you easily getting it faster and easier, it can help you to save some of your efforts during the hackathon time as well. So welcome, Tommy.
Hey, thanks, Roy. So yeah, this is Tommy. So I'm leading the modern application development and modernization effort in Hong Kong with Google Cloud. So yeah, very pleased to be here to share how you could leverage Google Cloud. Especially, I'm going to talk about more on some services that will help get started very quickly to build, say, a prototype application, like a mobile app that I'm aware that in some of your the hackathon challenges, there's a requirement to build a mobile app or some web application, so that would be very helpful.
Sounds great. Then the stage is yours. Well, I think you would like to have your mic.
All right,
closer to you. So yeah, so
yeah.
stage is yours.
All right. So since I spoke about Firebase, so if you've been doing mobile or web app development for some time, you might heard about Firebase. But for some of you who are new to this, so this service is a basically just is a Google's app development platform, and so what this platform is to help you to be successful in building your applications. So across the world, there are many different, say, even independent developers or up to bigger enterprises, startups are using Firebase to build their mobile applications. Say, for example, Shopify, Walmart, PayPal, Slack, they all use Firebase. So there are like 3 million apps out in the wild that's using Firebase today. And Firebase supports iOS, Android, and web, and even we support Unity for like gaming development. Yeah. So when you think about to build a mobile application or web application, it's just not just about writing some code and put it up, to your end users. So there are many things you need to think about. Not just, when you start with like mobile app design, you will think about the front end, the user experience, but when you think about you need some like collaborative capabilities so the app can be engaging with various persona users, then you probably need a cloud service to back the compute, the storage, and also authentication, and also, all right, so what happens if I do like after building an app, I need to test it. I need a way to deliver that app to your testers really easily, and using the release management to release a new feature, and also how I track my end user behavior. Maybe I'll do the A/B testing or do like push notification in app messaging. So all this what Firebase can give to you. So yeah, that's is an overview of what the tools that you can have with Firebase. So Firebase is just a platform of tools and cloud services integrated with Google Cloud to help you to solve 3 core problems. So to help you to build the app faster, to improve the quality, to have it reliable, and to help you to better engage your end users. All right. So if you first time to use Firebase, you will realize there's a console. It is similar to the GCP console, the Google Cloud console. In fact, when you start off with a Firebase project, that project is the same as a GCP project. So it's just another way to how you view the Firebase features. It's just basically they all share the same resource. Say, for example, you create a cloud storage bucket through Firebase, you all can view it in the same on the GCP console. So this is just the first starting point I want you to be all aware of. All right, so this is an example use case. For example, you've got some end users want to upload some image files for like text extraction using our machine AI capability. So first of all, you might want to authenticate who the user is. So you can use file-based authentication, and you need a storage for storing this image file. So you can upload that to cloud storage. And there's a listener that you can listen to any upload event through Cloud Function, and Cloud Function can trigger out a Cloud Vision API, what Thomas described earlier in the talk. And also, once you got the result back, let's say extract some text that you want to store it somewhere, you can use a NoSQL database, a cloud file store to store that. And the user can listen to this kind of event through the app, and say the user confirm, okay, that's the thing extracted. I want to do some further processing. Then you can trigger any cloud function and call maybe some other services like backend or API gateway or whatever they want to do that for data processing. Yeah. So maybe you've got a challenge that say I want to track 300,000 devices, mobile devices or IoT devices across multiple warehouse, and maybe you want to lower the cost of maintaining or entry of all these devices, and you want a friendly management reporting user interface for your mobile apps, and maybe you want a better way to to simplify all this operation, and also have a better security. So how you could do that? So I mentioned about file store is a NoSQL scalable database, so you could use that as a central database to track all these devices. It can scale to up to a couple of thousand or million requests per second. And so you can using file-based authentication for all this device, and also your end user to view it. And here's another use case where, say, you roll out a mobile device, mobile application to your users and through app stores, and maybe you want to iterate your development. You've got a new feature you want to roll out, and rather than just push the update to the app store again, which would take a while to get approval, instead you can use a feature flag, and maybe there's a server-side kind of feature you want to turn on, and in Firebase there's a thing called remote config, and together combined with Google Analytics, you can see how your users are using the app. Whether any crash problem, crash analytics or performance monitoring can tell you, and you can get this regression result back to the developer. And even you can put that the result into BigQuery for like historical analysis. And okay, maybe there's a case you find, okay, there's some older iOS device not working well with the app. Then you can exclude those and just roll out the feature to the supported device. And you can use remote config to turn that on. And for maybe this another use case is you want to do some data aggregation from your file store data. Say I want to know how many users or what are the top trending articles in the website, and you've got all the data stored in file store, but you want a way to aggregate it. Since it's a NoSQL database, it doesn't do well in this kind of job. What you could do is use an event trigger for functions and to aggregate that through the function to a file store. But instead of that, there's an integration with BigQuery where you can track the user analytics data and just ingest that in BigQuery directly. And also you can use the data flow and maybe combine with some transactional data on a Cloud SQL database. And your data analyst can just easily analyze all this data or integrate it. Okay. Since I spoke a bit around cloud functions, and also I want to introduce there's a specific version of cloud functions for Firebase, and also there's another service called Cloud Run. So basically, when you want to build scalable cloud-native applications, really often you need some code to glue all these different cloud services together. So Cloud Functions is one way of doing it, and Cloud Run is another way. It's a serverless container service fully managed for you to run web application or APIs.
So quickly fit in here. So most of the time when we talk about the Cloud Function and Cloud Run, a typical question was always being asked, what's the difference between the two, and how can I pick or decide which one I should use in my case, which one is better?
Yeah, it's a really common question that I always get from users or customers. So yeah, you can go to the next picture. Yeah. So actually, it still depends on your developer experience, what kind of extraction you need. Maybe you are dealing with just a function, a code snippet for like just 10 or 100 lines of code, not that much, maybe a bit less. Then maybe the function is a quick way, to deploying that, the business logic that you want. But sometimes you might want to build a full-blown application. So you could use App Engine. This has been out in available since 2008, and since recently, over the past 5 years, container technology is really getting really popular, and people are asking like, oh, can I package my application in a container so I get the flexibility? Maybe I can get the same consistency for development in my machine and also on the cloud. So Cloud Run is another choice for you to do that. And you get like rapid auto scaling, self-healing, and security all built in. And all these serverless services can be triggered for like HTTPS, gRPC, or even event-based. So yeah, so you can build an event-based architecture out of this for data processing and to the automation. So this would resonate back to the ML, AI, or data analytics track we talked about earlier by William and Thomas. So maybe you got the data, you want some way to further process it and put it into the app. And Cloud Function, Cloud Run could be really useful in that. Yeah. So Cloud Functions, there's actually 2 versions, so I just want to be aware of that. If you're a JavaScript or Node.js cloud developer, Cloud Functions for Firebase is a really easy way to go. So you can use the Firebase CLI tool just to deploy it, and you can get a HTTP endpoint or just do an event-based trigger, and without managing any service. Yeah, here you go. But if you're not a JavaScript developer, maybe you're more used to like Python, especially for the data scientist guys, and maybe you're a Java developer or other language. So I would suggest you go for the GCP Cloud Functions. So you get more language support there and different versions. And you can deploy for the GCP console. You can deploy through the gcloud command and the favorite ID, say VS Code or IntelliJ, and also you can just do RESTful API call. And since I mentioned Cloud Run, I just want to talk a bit more here. Maybe you are a developer like using Kotlin, so like you're doing Android development, but I also want to do the back-end development. Then Cloud Run maybe is another choice for you, because since Cloud Function doesn't support Kotlin, but Cloud Run, since it's based on container technology, so you can package any kind of language or any library or any kind of version you want there. And similarly, you can use VS Code, IntelliJ, gcloud, like what you could do with Cloud Function to deploy locally on your laptop, do your development there to iterate faster. And when you're ready, you want to roll it out to the cloud, then you can just use the same tools to do that. And some of you might ask, okay, what if a container like Dockerfile is really complicated for me? How can I do? But I still want to use a serverless container like Cloud Run. And build packs is one way of doing it. You don't need to write Dockerfile and you can package the container. And and apart from dealing with APIs or any dynamic content, which Cloud Function and Cloud Run could do for you, at the same time, maybe you wanted to host a website together with all these services. So Firebase hosting is one quick way of doing static web hosting on Google Cloud, and so you can custom domain and it's backed by CDN. But if you got more sophisticated pattern or the integration you want to do, you can use the Google Cloud load balancing. But this is more complex, maybe unless you're more familiar with the Google Cloud networking. Maybe you need to do DDoS protection, security, more advanced authentication. You could do this way. Otherwise, Firebase hosting would do, and you would connect with Cloud Function and Cloud Run. Yeah. And so I spoke a bit about the compute side of it. So on serverless, there's also file store to store your end user data or operational data NoSQL database. So you write mobile application, and often you need a backend database to share the data across like your users or other backend services. And you could set up a like an open source database like MongoDB or MySQL Postgres, but there's a lot of things you need to do, like API, authentication, etc., in front of the database. So Firestore is a quick way for you to get started. It supports a lot of language, different library, runtime. There's an SDK for that, for mobile, web, IoT devices. Yeah. So, and also it got built-in security rules. I will talk about a bit more in a later session on this. But so what is a cloud Firestore? So it's a NoSQL, it's a document-oriented database, a bit like MongoDB, but it's more opinionated. And since it's a NoSQL, it's schemaless, and especially you want to build prototype very quickly. You don't want to deal with like database schema, like I need to change my app and also to change the database. It's quite a lot of work, so it's better, schemaless. It's fully managed serverless, yeah. And the document model is based on this like JSON, and you can have a collection of document. Like for this example, like a collection of restaurant, and maybe a Korean restaurant. There's a menu, so there's sub collection in the menu items like bibimbap tofu soup, and there's another order for this restaurant, and across all the maybe Italian restaurant across the road. Yeah, in the same collection. And if you want to do like aggregation, not quite aggregation, but I mean a query across like different orders across this restaurant, you can use a collection group so that you can query the Korean and the Italian restaurant together. So this is a really quick concept on what the data model in Firestore is. And there are two modes for your application connect to Firestore. One is called an edge mode and a native mode as well. So basically, you can use like traditionally maybe it's like you do a 3-tier application like the diagram below. Like for server side only, you need to compute service in front of the database. That's the common way of doing it. But instead of you use the edge mode, you can use the SDK on your mobile app and connect the database as a backend as a service directly. Yeah, so this just further detail on the architecture. So traditionally, maybe there's a Cloud Run, a function, or even if it's a Kubernetes or there's a VM, you just need that business logic in front of the database. But since there's an edge mode supported for Firestore, and your end user mobile front end can just connect to Firestore directly, and on the right, the security rules that I'm going to talk about. So since you can authenticate the user directly, and Firestore will understand that context, and you can have authorization rules that say that some users can read this article, but some users can also write to this article based on the rule, like the visibility here, like public or private. And this a cool feature with Firestore is the offline mode, or we call the real-time sync mode. And especially if you got like devices keep going on offline with an unstable network connection, yeah. So you can there's a local cache in your mobile app that would have the copy of the database there, and you can write to it, read to it, even there's no connection, and when the connection back online, it will sync it automatically for you. And similarly, there's a listener feature there. So if any mobile application really want to listen for any database changes, then you can have a snapshot here, a handler for that, for any changes. Yeah. So just further some use cases here. This is the mobile gaming pattern, but it's applicable to any most use cases that you might be considering. So on the left, your end user might be changing the state of that game, then the event can get populated Firestore directly, and maybe there's some listen trigger at the back there for some game state change, and maybe your end user put the mobile app in the background. Then there you can leverage the Firebase Cloud messaging for that. If there's some change event in the game, then they will push notification to the app, and the end user will realize, oh, there's something changes. I should open up the app and check what's changing. And the way on the right is just some business logic maybe you want to have before the database. So it's a similar pattern there. Yeah. And this one is just further to illustrate there's any database changes for this user pattern, and the function can trigger and be put, say, the publishing a document and it's ready, the function can trigger that file into your cloud storage bucket, and from there you can serve from there rather than from the database. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of information sharing here, but hopefully that will be very helpful for you to get started to build a mobile application that will be useful for solving your challenges there.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks, Tommy. So we've got a lot. I'm laughing at. So you did introduce us. You did introduce us about the cloud function, the cloud run, and how the different usage of this too. How can we have a better or quicker development with Firebase and Firestore? We can have it glue together with the public data set. William has already introduced us. At the same time, we have some pre-built model with AI, what Thomas has already introduced us as well. So with all of this, I do think, I hope that is helpful to all of you. At the same time, I do definitely know you have like 1,000 more follow-up questions about all the technology or all the topic we did just mention or introduced it. So let me guess what should be next. I think the next should be how can us to get started with GCP and really actually play around with it with their own hand, right?
Yeah, so we've prepared some resources for you to get started.
So yeah, the story is that let's get your hand dirty. As long as you really played around with it and you know more about what actually it can help you, and it will just help you to bring out more insights or more ideas you might have as long as you're building it just like part by part. So for this hackathon event, so thanks to Google, thanks for Jardine. So actually, they did invest in some resources. So actually, you can easily get fund the GCP environment, and then you can kickstart and play around with it and build your prototype on top of the Google environment. So here is what you need to do. So actually, we will send this procedure out again later, but that's the high level for what you need to do. Email us about your project or team name. At the same time, the email list of your team member. So we will create a project for you. So as soon as your project is created, you can just simply log into Google Cloud Console with email list you provided us, and then here you go and have fun. And you will get what you can see from the right hand side of the screen. Log into the console, and then on the upper, I think the letter over there was a little bit small in here, but you can find that the project was being created for you, and the project name was over there in a drop down button besides the Google Cloud logo. So maybe you realize in step 2B there was some small letters over there, because so that's one of requirement for using the Google Cloud platform. Guess what? We need a Google Cloud. We need a Google account. So what means by Google account? So as long as if your email you're gonna to use to log into the Google Cloud, we can add you into the project we created for you. As long as you're using Gmail, you're good to go. We'll directly add you in there in no time. But if you're using your some other domain with your email, is that means you must create another Google Gmail account and use that for the GCP login? The answer is not necessary. So there was another procedure. We'll send out this link as well. So actually, it's simply like creating a Google account, but at the same time, it's not necessary to bundle it with a Gmail account. You can just click the red circle on the screen, and then you can fill in your own email address. And then actually, it will link your address and then create a Google account on top of this email address. And then you can keep using your own email address, but having a Google account. And then you can just have that Google environment for you and play around with it, whatever you like. So it sounds easy, right? But after we just talk about a lot of different technology, I think you may still have a lot of like, I still want to have a little bit more guidance. How can I actually play around with it? So we did prepare another lab for you. So you can just simply click forward, and then actually there's a lot of different step-by-step workflows. You can just like following them. Or you can particularly pick whatever topic you are more interested. Like you wanted to do some visual AI, do some AI with the images or the videos you have. You can just simply or directly go to the visual AI lab under this link. So just pick whatever topic you want, and there was a step-by-step instruction for you to go through it, and then just play around with the sample, and then you really know what's the actual flow for the whole usage for the Google Cloud environment. But I think if after the guidance, after the lab, there may be furthermore questions you might have. What should we do?
Just come to us.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just want to say, you know the answer. Google it. Or,
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah.
or actually, YouTube can help you a lot. There's a lot of video, but
Yeah.
well, there's furthermore help from us as well. So we do have an email over there, Hack Asia 2022 with a dash over there at google.com. You can email us your questions or your inquiries. We can reply your email. We can reply it by email, or if we find that the question is relatively, it's better to have more like a verbal conversation. We can set up a Google Meet event with you. Google Meet invitation with you, so we can have more like virtual meetings to talk about your questions in your head, and or even it's not really a technical questions. So just when after today's presentation, you've got some more idea and you're not so sure how Google's technology is able to help you out, just don't hesitate. Come for us. I won't say it is not able to get your hand dirty, because whatever great product you're gonna build out, you need to work it out. But with our help, we would like to help you to get your hands less dirty, so you know who to go. Or Google it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks
Google
for
it.
today. Thanks for your time today. That's a wrap up as what we have prepared for today. I think I'm gonna to give back the stage to Janice.
So thank you so much, Roy and the team, for the great sharing. So I hope that you guys actually learn different kind of tools that you can use with like whether you want to build a prototype, which is an app, or do you want to build actually something with like the intelligence behind where you can use AutoML and all the APIs provided, or however you want to do. There are actually many different tools that can help you actually accelerate the process of building the prototype. So do kind of like go Google everything when it comes to finding the right answers, or maybe the possible answers to some of the challenges being posed by our business. And we look forward to seeing your prototype. So actually, we want to welcome the Google team, Google Cloud team, back to the stage again, where we can give you guys a little small gift. And thank you so much for joining us today to empower all our participants of Hack Asia, as well as our Jardim businesses, helping them with their journey to innovate a sustainable future together.
So actually, it's my honor to be here today.
Yeah,
So hope you have fun.
So hope everyone have fun in the process. So maybe the team here, we can come up together, take a picture together.
Great. So
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, okay. I was about to say the wrap up message for the audience as well.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. That was awesome. Great. So here comes the end of day 2, but this is not the end of the Hack Asia week. So now you actually will know, you already learned about how do you build your prototype. So we hope that you will spend the remaining 2 or 3 days to really build something to show us what your idea is really about. So a little bit preempt for you guys in terms of what you can expect next. So in the next couple of days, we'll still have some sharings by some successful young entrepreneurs, as well as startups who managed to collaborate with corporates to scale together. So we have invited very successful entrepreneurs to share the experience to you, hoping that you can learn something from that journey as well. Beyond that, we know that some of you guys will be pitching to us on Thursday. As such, we also have a pitching workshop delivered to you by W Hub, where you will know how do you actually sell a really good idea to either investor, to companies, or even to your own management team to kickstart your initiative. So another thing to stay tuned for is our first day where we will have the challenge statement pitch as well as the grand final. So stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week.